All right, first of all, I'm excited to say welcome. Being in the same room with the media and everyone is exciting. And especially welcome to the Vigen family, Coach Vigen. And we'll begin this event by welcoming the human dynamo who leads us all, President Cruzado.
So good morning, Bill, and good morning, everybody. Good morning. Is that all you've got? What have these face masks done to you? Okay, let's do this again. Good morning, Bobcats.
Good morning.
This is a big day in the history of Montana State University, and it could not have happened on a better day. Today is February the 16th, which means it's 128 years since the Montana legislature established the first and oldest university in the state of Montana. I think that deserves a round of applause. So think about it, 128 years ago, all the promises, the hopes, the goals of so many individuals finally reached fruition. A day like today, 128 years ago, there were a lot of people very happy in the state of Montana, and with a good reason. We were going to establish the land-grant university of the state, that was going to be called to educate the sons and daughters of the working families of the state. And here we are, 128 years later, the largest university in the state with very solid student enrollment, the only research Carnegie won in the state of Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, and Idaho, with more research expenditures than all the universities in the state combined. And as a good land-grant university with a very strong extension program that serves each and every county of our beloved state. So on this particular day, we are welcoming an incredible family to Montana State University. And we wanted to get together to tell Coach Vigen, his wife, his sons, his parents, what an honor we are to welcome them to Montana State University. This is a solid program. Football in the state of Montana is very important, and Bobcat football is a big deal. And we are very happy to see that that trajectory now will continue in the hands of an extraordinary leader. I was so impressed when I met Coach Vigen, because I know that in his hands, our wonderful student athletes will continue to have the leadership, the guidance that will allow them to grow, both as athletes, as students, and as future men that will go out and be extraordinary leaders and lead happy and healthy families and lives. So, without any further ado, I just needed to say, welcome Coach Vigen, welcome Molly. We have a great women's basketball team too. I also was very interested in inviting his parents because, you know, Coach Vigen's father is also a football coach, so I was very interested in the 2-for-1 kind of association right there. But honestly, I just needed to say, Coach Vigen, we know about you, we know your trajectory. We know that you know what championships are made of, and you know how to make champions. But more importantly, you know how to serve as an extraordinary example for our students and our faculty and our staff. And without any further ado, I just need to say, let's welcome our wonderful athletic director, Leon Costello. Go Cats.
Thank you, President Cruzado, and thank you to everybody for being here today. Thank you for everybody tuning in online. one of these days we're going to be back together in real life, in person, and filling our stadiums and arenas, and we're looking forward to that day. However, today's a great day, as it always is, another great day to be a Bobcat. Welcome to the Field House and the Hall of Fame room on the campus of Montana State University. Today is a very special day as we introduce the 33rd head football coach at Montana State. But before we do that, there are a few people I would like to thank first. First, I would like to thank President Cruzado. Her inspiration and leadership continue to guide the best and the brightest of this great university, and we thank her for her continual support of Bobcat athletics. Thank you very much. I also need to give a special thank you to our search committee. Any search, anytime, is demanding. However, searching for a football coach in the middle of a pandemic was definitely different. Those serving on the committee were Cammie Bechtold, Tricia Binford, Dan Davies, Dennis Erickson, Casey Fox, George Haynes, Terry Least, Rick Van Cleve, and our Bobcat football captains. I would also like to thank other coaches and staff that assisted in the search process, especially Coach Danny Sprinkle, Tice Goosens, Cole Moore, and Bo Moose. From the beginning in this process, it was important to me and to the committee to identify a coach that understands Montana State University, our athletic department, and our football program. To understand our focus and our commitment to developing student athletes in the classroom and in competition that will prepare them for success now and after graduation. To understand we are positioned and poised to win now. To understand the support we receive in Bobcat Stadium on fall Saturdays and throughout the year is second to none. And that support is due to Bobcats' enjoyment of winning and winning the right way with toughness, character, integrity, and respect. From day one, the interest in our head coaching position was extremely high and came on a national scale from the highest levels. That is a testament to where the Bobcat football program is currently and what it is set up to do. The interest also is a product of a first-class institution boasting academic and athletic accomplishments, incredible leadership, and unwavering support. The goal throughout this process was to identify a head coach that can build on the foundation of success that has been attained in the storied history of MSU, a history that includes 20 conference championships and 3 national championships, a coach that can use his strengths, skills, and experiences to guide Bobcat football to take that championship step again. During the 2-week search process, the characteristics of our new head coach that stood out were the understanding of the FCS football landscape, recruiting familiarity in this region, championship mentality and pedigree, commitment to academic excellence, and the focus on skill and personal development. Coach Vigen embodies all of those characteristics. During his career, Coach Vigen also has identified and developed NFL caliber players while succeeding at the highest level by winning conference championships, regularly advancing to the postseason, and winning bowl games and FCS national championships. He has developed meaningful relationships with the student athletes, coaches, and administrators that have created a pathway for success. He has molded his coaching philosophy that started with his dad, Randy, who is here today, a Hall of Fame high school coach in North Dakota, continued with Bob Babich, his college coach, and most recently Craig Bowl at NDSU in Wyoming for the last 18 years. In the end, Coach Vigen proved he was the right fit at the right time for Bobcat football. Bobcat fans, with his wife Molly, sons Jake, Grant, and Luke, I am excited to introduce the 33rd head football coach at Montana State, Mr. Brent Vigen. Good, Garrett? Congratulations.
Thank you. Good touch there with the number. Well, my first thought was, didn't we cover this all on last Wednesday? But this is obviously a special time for me and my family. So I want to start off by bringing them up here, just to do introductions. So they don't get the back of their head. Mom and Dad, come up here too. So my wife Molly, our junior son Jake, who's 17, has a game tonight. So and when he felt bad about not being here, but I said I feel better about the fact that you want to be in Laramie for your team, and they got a tough opponent tonight. So certainly want to identify him. Grant, who's an 8th grader, Luke, who's a 4th grader, and then my parents, Randy and Doris. Without them, I wouldn't be here. Being a football coach at the college level is a demanding job, and without the support of a loving family, it's I can't imagine how you do it. There's plenty of times that we're way too busy, and plenty of times that we have to make choices to miss things or whatever. But we try to make it work, and without their support, it wouldn't be possible. So just want to have them up here and thank them and tell them how much I love them. Next up, I want to thank President Cruzado. When you look at an opportunity to become a head coach, having top-down support is so critical. And I can't say it's that way everywhere, but it's evident that that's in place here. And what she's been able to do for this university in her time here goes without saying. This is a top-tier public land-grant institution, and she said it best. When you talk about this region, I can't see a better one. And I think it's got a national reputation, and that is due to your leadership. And you think about the enrollment being stabilized and being solid in this day and age. I think that's a testament to where this university's at. And you couple this university with Bozeman, the vibrant, small town but growing town, the energy and all the things to do here. What a place for our student athletes to thrive on and off the field. Leon, I want to thank you. I know through the process, we had a couple conversations, didn't know exactly where I was in the process, but as we got into the beginning parts of that previous week, it was evident that I was in the mix, and I was looking forward to an opportunity for us to continue to develop our relationship, and I think this is just the beginning. You've done great things in your time here, and look forward to working with you in the time to come. The search committee, I know that's a big commitment. I want to thank in particular the players that were involved. There were 7 players, the captains included, that it was evident meeting with them that this program matters to them very much. And that was really important to me. You want players, you want to coach players, student athletes that are invested. And it was easy to see in a short time. They grilled me pretty good last Sunday, the previous Sunday, and I had those captains up in the same spot just recently a couple days ago, and I said, now this meeting's on this is on my terms now, but I think we have a great group of leaders that are, a lot of them are coming back for an additional year, so it tells me how much this program, this university means to them, and we want to make the most of their remaining experience. Continued thank yous. I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of great coaches, and won't name them all. I'll talk about a few specifically, but many thanks to all the guys I've had a chance to work with over the years. Special thanks to all the players, both at Wyoming and North Dakota State. Again, too many guys to mention, but those that have reached out, both the coaches and players, to me. It's been very heartwarming. I think what it tells you is that it affirms that you do things right when players take the time, when coaches, when colleagues take the time to reach out, and I know I'll continue to have great relationships on both sides of that, but I wouldn't be here without a lot of other people helping me out along the way. When I looked at this opportunity and began to, at the beginning of January when it looked like it may open, Molly and I talked and said if Montana State opens, that would be the right place. Right place, right time is kind of what we've been searching for, the last 5-6 years. I think the idea of becoming a head coach is something that I've always dreamed about. It's been a goal of mine. I've had different schools through that time inquire, but I really hadn't followed through on any. Part of my journey was going from North Dakota State to Wyoming and continuing to develop as a coach. Continue to learn from Craig Bowl and just how we did things, and ultimately this was becoming the right time. But it wasn't just a matter of I needed to be a head coach at all costs. But when the job looked like it might open, we had those conversations. And then when that didn't happen for Coach Choate at Boise, you kind of say, oh, maybe it wasn't the right time. But lo and behold, a couple weeks later, things obviously changed. And why is it the right place? I think anytime you can couple a great institution with a commitment at all levels, not just on the football field, but commitment on all levels. Those are two things I looked at. I certainly looked at the leadership that was in place, and then you throw Bozeman on top of it. You throw a great state like Montana, where football is the people are passionate about football, and the tools are in place to do the things that we want to do. I think you have a team that hasn't played since December of 19, but was right on the cusp, was a semifinal team, a top 4 team at that time. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to get on the field in quite some time, but it's a hungry outfit. And, all those factors said that this would be a great place. And then the next thing is, why am I a candidate that not only should be considered, but then ultimately be chosen? I think the blend of my experience, both at the FCS level, at North Dakota State, and in this region at the FBS level at Wyoming, really makes me feel like, this was the job for me. My time at NDSU, I was there for 21 falls as an undergrad, as a student athlete, as a graduate assistant, ultimately as a full-time coach climbing the ladder. And I played Division II football at NDSU. I coached Division II football at the beginning at NDSU. In 2004, we made the transition to 1AA at the time. It became FCS shortly thereafter. And, NDSU's success the last decade is obvious to everyone. But that decade before, that build from 2004 to 2011 is what everybody just kind of forgot about a little bit. And I was part of that. And, every step of the way, there was choices to be made. There was agendas to get pushed, to take us to ultimately that spot we got to. And so I've been on the road. I know the roadmap. They're still out there. I know that. They're still doing well, but haven't been through that experience at the FCS level and really understanding the intricacies. Obviously the scholarship piece is different, but you're still throwing 11 guys out there at a time. And getting our guys ready and understanding, where they fit on any given Sunday is my job moving forward. And there's no reason we can't be in position to go out there and win every time we take the field. The experience at Wyoming, there was certainly a fork in the road back in 2013, then into 14, to make that leap. And I felt at that time, I was ready to maybe be the head coach at NDSU, but I felt like for my own experience, for our experience as a family, that was time to shift gears. And Coach Bowl obviously provided me the opportunity to join him at Wyoming, and it was a leap of faith, but I wouldn't turn back and change anything. We were taking over a program where a head coach had been fired. We were starting, not ground zero necessarily, but we were starting in a situation where that was a rebuild. And, you learn new things about that. You learn about taking over a team where gaining trust is a critical component. Getting with those players right away, getting to know them, bridging the gap. So I really felt like that was an important piece. Recruiting to this part of the country, it's a different footprint. Where we recruited at NDSU and where we recruited at Wyoming is two different things. It's a wider reach. It's certainly the western part of our country, and just learning the ins and outs of that, of how to take and first of all understand those areas from how they play football, how those kids develop, and then more importantly, what kids from this, I'd say the western part of the United States can fit in a place like Laramie, Wyoming, can thrive in a place like Laramie, Wyoming. So learning those it was a learning process for us. It didn't happen overnight, but I think through the time we really developed some knowledge of what we were looking for and what kind of kid could come, and take that leap of faith with us and really thrive in Laramie. And I see, the opportunities in Bozeman being very comparable, very comparable. The next thing was, stepping up our level of competition. Getting off the bus each Saturday or Friday night or Thursday, wherever they had us playing, where we didn't have a distinct advantage coming off the bus. We had recruited really hungry young men that were in position to develop, but it was a dogfight for us every time out in the Mountain West. Our non-conference included in that, and so I think my level of understanding from a coaching perspective, what it takes through that time, continue to develop. So with those two experiences and taking a blend of them, and then really getting a feel for where are we at as a program here at Montana State, and we're still in the midst of learning guys' names. We're gonna have a big personnel meeting at the end of the week, so there's still some learning involved. But my vision is to blend my experiences along with what's been going on here. Credit to Coach Choate. I think he did a tremendous job establishing an identity on the field, creating excitement off the field. And this is not a starting from scratch proposition here. This is hey, let's pick up where he left off. I admire, the way that they played the game of football. I admire how hard they played in particular. When I had a chance to watch some video, this is going back 10 days, a couple weeks now. I figured I'm going to be coaching this game one way or the other down there in Laramie on September 4th. So, time was not wasted one way or the other. But what I saw, and it wasn't so much about looking at individuals, it was about, schematics. Do what they did, does what they did fit with my ideas? And it did. But more so, how hard do the guys play? How passionate are they about the game of football? And it was apparent in the games I watched that was the case. So again, credit to Coach Choate about, just on the job he did in his time here. I'd remiss to say, credit to Coach Ash. We came out here in 2010, and we were facing a Big Sky champion on their field in December in a frigid day. And that game ultimately came out in our favor in the fourth quarter, but that was a dogfight, and we somehow came out on top, and that was a game that really did two things in my mind. It really helped propel us at NDSU to say, hey, we belonged at that stage, on that stage. We lost the next week to the eventual national champion Eastern Washington, but it also gave me an inside look of where this program was at, where the support level was at, and that stuck with me since that day. So, and this program has a great history. You talk about 3 national championships at 3 different levels. So that success, that level of success has been attained, and I feel like we're right on the doorstep of attaining that again. Getting to know our players. I think, this is a unique situation. We're doing this a week after I've started because I do have some insight. That's the first thing. That was the first task that we took on is right in this room, meeting with them last Tuesday. And what I told them is, we got to have a vision here, and the vision is you really value your education and you obtain an impactful degree from this fine institution. That's got to be one. We're going to have some guys that have opportunities to go on and play in the NFL. I certainly hope so. But more of them are going to have to really rely on that degree, and that's got to be priority one. And that's not just lip service. That's going to have to come from me. It's going to have to come from our assistant coaches. Those guys have to, and many of them do. I look at the number of engineers we have and guys in business and all that kind of thing. I trust that we have a very intelligent team based on those majors, but just have them understand that this is a two-way street here. That education is something you'll never be able to walk away from. Football, you will walk away from at some point. But regarding football on the field, we have to have a clear vision that going after a national championship is what we're all about. If your goal ends with winning a conference championship, making the playoffs, then that's not enough. If you can't see it, you certainly can't go after it. So made those two things clear. Within our goals, the first goal is to beat the Grizz. That didn't make the Twitter or whatever last week, but that's the first goal. I think in a state like this, those battle lines are drawn. Each one of the communities across the state, I'm sure, has fans on both sides, and we want to be on the right side of that. And that's not just beating them that one Saturday in the fall. That's feeling that competition every day of the year, whether that's in recruiting, any endeavor that we take on, having that mindset. And where that game sits on the schedule, beyond the pride factor, our guys being able to go to their small town and have bragging rights, there's probably some Big Sky ramifications on the line. There's probably some playoff ramifications on the line. So that that next goal to win the Big Sky Conference is so important. Gaining home field in the playoffs is so important. So those are going to be real tangible goals as we ultimately have that vision of winning a national championship. And will we talk about these things on a daily basis? Not necessarily. I think you still have to have big goals, but have a vision on a daily basis to say, what did I do today to get better? So have a mindset every day, whether we're in the meeting room, in the weight room, on the practice field, a clear vision of what did I do today to get better. And regarding our players, I think there's, you go through a coaching change, there's a lot of apprehension. There's a lot of, hey, I like things how they were. What's it going to look like moving forward? And I wanted to reassure them that, their best interest at heart to accomplish those goals is how we're going to proceed. There might be some tweaks to what we do, subtle tweaks. There might be some changes within the coaching staff, but those decisions aren't taken lightly. Those decisions are made to put us in position to achieve the things we want to. And, to this point, they've been very receptive. The group of players, the captains I spoke about that I met with, they're on board. I think this generation, they don't want to necessarily just be told what they're doing. There's why. So we've talked a lot about the why. Why are we going to proceed in this fashion? Why are we going to make the choices we make? And you know what? They've been great. They've been great as far as just listening to me, and I've tried to listen to them at the same time, and make some decisions. And there's still some decisions to be made, regarding the direction we're heading relative to staffing. And the spring plan, I do feel like we have set the wheels in motion. But they've been. I couldn't ask for anything more. Starting this evening, I'm going to meet with each one of them for 10 to 15 minutes through Sunday. I just said that this commitment that I can speak to the group and address you as a group, and you might hear what you want to. You might not feel like you can raise your hand in front of the group. So, let's take the time throughout the rest of this week to get to know those young men, because that's ultimately what it's all about. Their ability to go out there on Saturdays and perform is so much to do with just how much they know as a coaching staff. We have their best interests at heart. Regarding the staffing side of things, had a chance to sit down with all the remaining coaches, and that was important to me. Obviously, this program was in a good place, and it starts with those guys. There was a couple spots open. Sat down with all of them last week and got a feel for who they were as men, who they were as coaches, how they might fit in the grand scheme of things, and also just gaining a knowledge of their passion for our players. And it was evident, the guys here had done a great job holding things together through the weeks of the search, and I thank them for that. From a staffing perspective, I think talked to Bill. Ideally, we would have a Zoom press conference at the end of the week to introduce the new staff. I know there's certainly speculation and all that out there, and I thank you guys for pursuing those angles for sure. I don't know if I thank you, but we'll. I want to get the whole staff in place before we introduce them, and that'll come in short order, ideally towards the end of the week this week. But I do appreciate the efforts of the men who were left behind, I guess, and they did a great job of holding things together and have been a great resource for me in this first week. You know, I want to speak of the three mentors really that I would point out from a coaching perspective. You know, the first is my dad. I think when you have an opportunity to grow up as a coach's son, I don't know that you necessarily, you know the impact that that's going to have on you. But I was out on the field, on the sidelines as early as I can remember. I know when I was 5, I got smacked on the sidelines pretty good. They gave me the hit of the week. I was probably too close to the sideline during a game. But those opportunities then moving into having a chance to play for him, first and 7th and 8th grade as a basketball player, then high school as a football player, you know, that was impactful for so many reasons. I know my love of sports comes from that, but more so from a choice of your life's work. You know, I think there's a lot of directions you could go. I started out engineering for a semester. I tried to trick myself that was maybe the path I wanted to go, but I always came back to being involved with sports. And you know, I think it was the day in, day out, the year in, year out relationships that my dad was able to develop with his players, his students over time, really having a tremendous impact on our small little community back in Buxton, North Dakota, and Central Valley High School. You know, not only a Hall of Famer, but the football field is named after him. And you know, I think that part of things, just saying, you know, beyond the salary that you make, just you know, doing something that you're having an impact, and you really are truly, you know, loving what you do on a day in, day out basis. And you know, beyond that experience, through my formative years, you know, going on to college at NDSU, and to today, he's still, you know, the first guy that I'll call about, you know, whatever kind of questions. I might not answer his calls all the time if he's got suggestions, but you know, we'll talk through a lot of things. You know, obviously up into taking this job, and that'll continue. And my parents will be fixtures out here. It's a relative straight shot. It's 4-lane the whole way. I think they're happy about that. It was a little longer to Laramie. There was a few 2-lane roads that were a little challenging. So, you know, they'll be out here quite a bit. But I couldn't thank my dad enough for, you know, his impact on who I am as a coach and why I chose this path. The next guy would be Gus Bradley. You know, Gus is currently the defense coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland Raiders, but the Las Vegas Raiders. And Gus was a defensive coordinator when I was finishing up playing. He came back. He's an NDSU alum, came back, and brother of Kelly Bradley, mind you, younger brother of Kelly Bradley, so he had a little insight on Kelly's experience here. But Gus was there from the time I played, and then I was a graduate assistant, and you know, he became this mentor from a professional perspective of, you know, what it takes from a work ethic perspective, what it takes from just an investment perspective. And I say investment, being really invested in your players, and then ultimately, you know, going at it 100 miles an hour. And fortunate enough to work with Gus from '98 essentially through 2005 when he got his shot at, you know, with the Tampa Bay Bucks, and went on to Seattle, got the opportunity to be a head coach at Jacksonville, and you know, LA/San Diego Chargers, and now to Vegas. But you know, not only has he been a mentor from a professional perspective and guiding me along the way. I mean, and he was one of the first guys I called and said, "What do you think of this opportunity?" He goes, "Vigs, you'd be crazy not to go after it." And I think that was, he knew where I was at, but he also knew, you know, what this place has been. You know, I think his brother's experience here back in the 80s, winning the national championship. Kelly was the Big Sky player the year that year, I think really had an impact on him. You know, so he was a real, you know, it was a pretty easy nudge for him. But even through all his success, whether it's been as an NFL head coach or a NFL defensive coordinator, we've maintained a great relationship. You know, our families are best of friends. We're godparents to Eli. They're juniors, sophomore, I guess, in high school right now. And I couldn't be more thankful to his guidance through all this time. Lastly, and most importantly, I from a pure professional perspective, Craig Bowl, he's had a long-lasting impact on me, and I know that will continue. Where I was, that fork in the road back in 2003, when he took the position at NDSU, I was fortunate, along with Gus, we were the two guys that he retained, and it probably took some convincing for him to retain me. I joke, I knew where all the bodies were buried at NDSU at that time. I had my hands kind of in everything, and I think he was like, okay, this guy knows enough, we'll keep him around. But just my growth with him and the opportunities he afforded me, I couldn't thank him, just for empowering me, I guess, over time. I know that, I had a front seat at learning how to do it, I guess, from a professional, from leading players. Like I said before, pushing agendas, having a vision beyond what people think a place can do. I think that was the thing through those first 7 years at NDSU. I think he saw further than a lot of people did. He saw further than a lot of people saw that place going. And, I think the same thing could be said for our time at Wyoming. I can't thank him enough. And, obviously the interesting twist of fate in my first game as a head coach will be walking across that sideline and shaking his hand. And we joked about that, but he was very supportive of this choice for me. I think he's always been, a sounding board for any one of us that had opportunities, and he saw this opportunity as a great one. And couldn't be more excited for Molly, our kids, and I. So the impact that those three men in particular had on me is tremendous, and like I said, I couldn't thank them enough. So with that being said, I couldn't be more thrilled to be here, be the 33rd head coach, take my ideas, blend them with what's been done, and obviously take this program to the heights we all want in the years to come. That facility, speaks to the commitment here, and I'd like to say we're not done, Bobcat fans. We need to keep pushing this. But my family and I are going to embrace Bozeman. We're going to embrace this state, and certainly I'll have a couple huge Bobcat fans here in due time. They already got all the gear. They're all geared up. So with that being said, thanks. Thank you all to all our fans. I look forward to getting an opportunity to get across this state in due time and meet as many as you can. I hope we have the opportunity for an event here in the near future where we can do things as normal. I know that might take some time, but we'll be active and engaged across our state, and in particular here in Bozeman. So with that being said, I'll open it up for questions.
You mentioned, when you were on staff at North Dakota State and being part of the transition to Division I. How do you feel like those experiences at the FCS level and getting to that program to where it was can kind of translate to coaching, being a head coach here at MSU?
Well, I think the first thing is to understand FCS football is to understand how it differs from a scholarship perspective. I think that's one thing that I have a clear understanding of, how that works, how you blend. You get 85 guys on 63 scholarships. Just how that looks, how there's a starting point from a recruiting process that has to go on, then the ability to upgrade, enhance guys' opportunities. I understand how important walk-ons are at this level to get guys that believe in their opportunity, that someday they'll find their way on the field, that someday they'll find their way on the scholarship. So I think that component I understand. The biggest difference on the field is that opportunity to get in the playoffs. I know a lot's been spoken of the 4-team expanding at the FBS level, but it's clear not everybody's got a seat at the table. Where at the FCS level, every league across the board has that opportunity, and you get in that tournament, you got a shot. And we were on the outside looking in for a couple years. We got that opportunity in 2010, and you got to have a team ready for the grind, ready for the long haul. You start thinking about playing 15, 16 games. That's the vision you have to have. You're not trying to get ready for 12, 13. So, there's things that come into on the training side. I think you do a little bit different. Once you get into that tournament, like I said, I mean, all records are out the door. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. You got a shot, and I think I got a clear understanding of what playoff football looks like. Like I said before, I have a home field advantage here. That needs to be an ace in the hole for us. And what it takes to win in December relative to what it takes to win in September are kind of two different things. And I think if you don't really get that big picture item, it's challenging. Like I said in my intro there, you're dealing with less number of guys that will make the NFL. So I think that the piece of the education part, while it's still very important at FPS schools, don't get me wrong, I think that's a little different component at this level, and you really have to get your players to embrace that. Some will from day one. Some know exactly who they want to be, what they want to be, but there's a lot of others that want to play college football, and they figure it out as they go. So we can be we need to be a real help along the way for that.
This moment, being introduced as head coach, does it feel like you expected it to feel?
That's a great question. You envision this. I know this moment being placed a week down the road. I've thought about it. I've had plenty of things on my plate, so it's not like I've rehearsed this a whole lot. But I know it became real last night and then this morning, and you want to embrace it. I think this is a moment for my family and I that we've been looking forward to. I think the reality is more when you're sitting at your desk and this comes up, things that you haven't had to deal with before. I mean, that's the real side of the job that that I'm excited about, and this is a great opportunity again to get in front of our fans and the media. But every day has brought on its new exciting challenges.
Coach, congratulations again. And I know that you just got here, but what does the next couple weeks/month look like for you and your team prior to getting to spring ball?
Yeah, well, I know getting to meet all those guys, that's been priority one, and that'll kind of go on through this week. Going through personnel, continuing on our 2022 recruiting plan. I know, this 2021 into 2022 for every college program across the country from a numbers perspective is its own independent animal, with eligibility not moving forward last year, with seniors coming back. So, getting our arms around that piece is very important. Getting the staff in place, is something I have in mind by the end of the week. Ramping up for spring ball, okay, and that'll be a 4-week process that let's get our systems solidified on both sides of the ball, and let those coaches run with it. Spring ball. What's our goals in spring ball? It's our guys haven't played in a long time. They've practiced in the fall. I look at it maybe a little bit differently in this cycle, but at the same time, what we need to leave spring ball with is a clear understanding of who we are as a team. So, our guys need to understand our scheme is inside and out. We need to know our personnel. We're going to have a personnel meeting, this week, but that personnel meeting at the beginning of May it'll be more clearly defined. So those are the biggest things. Is just getting our schemes in, and who are we as individuals? Who are we as a offense, defense, special teams unit? Those are the biggest things that talking about from here to the end of April that we got to conquer. So it's all about the organization. It's all about the people.
Getting to be a head coach now, is there any, you mentioned your mentors that you've had over the years. Is there anything that you want to do in particular that's maybe unique compared to other stops that you've had?
Well, that's a good question. The fact that I got to be myself. I can't try to be Gus Bradley. I can't try to be Craig Bowl, Bob Babich, Jeff Choate. I am who I am. I think what you're going to see is consistency. The same guy every day, not too high, not too low. but great passion for our players, great passion for this program, great passion for this institution. So yeah, I think the advice, I got a good friend that's the head basketball coach down at Utah State, Craig Smith, and Craig we were lowly minions at NDSU a long time ago, and we became friends, and we followed each other's paths. He had an opportunity to become a head coach at South Dakota and then Utah State, and that was clear advice he gave me. And I know he took over a program at Utah State that was set up pretty well, and you just be yourself. Don't let people tell you what to do. Go with decisions that you make, and that's what I aim to do.
And the MSU-Montana rivalry is obviously one of the better rivalries in the country. What kind of excites you most to be able to finally get the chance to be a part of a game like that?
Well, that it's evident that that's priority number one. Like I said, growing up where I did between Fargo and Grand Forks, smack dab in the middle of Bison Sioux growing up, I think I got a sense for what it might be about in a state where, there are no pro teams. That is the Super Bowl for that state, and it was for North Dakota all those years. And having played in that game, coached in that game, that game went away in the early 2000s, but I had the good fortune, I think, of being part of that, because that was something special to each community across the state of North Dakota, much like I know it is in this state. Having a chance to be a part of the Wyoming-Colorado State rivalry, albeit cross state lines, certainly was a great experience as well. And coming here, I don't take anything lightly as far as that matchup goes. Kudos to the volleyball team for getting the sweep. Coach Jones this past week as well. I'm remiss not to mention that. Like I said, winning that matchup on a daily basis and having that mindset every day is important, because I know they're trying every bit as hard up there to do the same thing. And I think what that kind of competition should do for you is it should bring out the best in you. That should drive you when you have an opponent like that's out there that matters to everybody. And I know for our players, most importantly, their ability to go to their small town or wherever they're from in this state and have those bragging rights is pretty dang important too.
Coach, is there anything you're looking forward to doing in Bozeman outside of coaching?
Well, you know what? If you'd asked me 7 years ago, I don't know what I would have said, but having an opportunity to live in this region, in Laramie, around the mountains, we became hikers, skiers, you name it. We wanted to embrace where we were down there, and I'm anxious up here because I think it's more immediate here. The two ski resorts being right here, I know we'll be out there. I don't know the timing of all that and how much time I'll have, but we'll be out there skiing, we'll be out there hiking. We will completely embrace the experience that Bozeman in this area provides. So can't wait to. I know it's been a cold week. That was like a welcome to reality, I suppose. But I've been told that's unusual. So that's nothing I experienced growing up, obviously in North Dakota. So we're just anxious to get the family up here, finish out the basketball seasons, and hopefully get them up there as soon as we can, or get them up here as soon as we can.
You mentioned recruiting. What's kind of your familiarity with the area and connections that you may have?
Well, I think there's two different directions I would speak to there. I think being the North Dakota, rural Minnesota recruiter for North Dakota State, I understand, going into small schools, small towns, being able to identify guys that will become something more than they've been able to become, whether that's you're projecting on future physical development, just a pure hunger to become something different. So while I haven't recruited the state of Montana, I really think I understand what it takes. Identifying that diamond in the rough, so to speak, and I know they're out there. I know when we made the move to FCS football, I think that was a concern for a lot of people in North Dakota that those opportunities for North Dakotans would go down. Well, in fact, I think they kind of increased a little bit. And I know between the two rosters, there's like 100 kids on the two rosters. So there's the guys out there, and we need to be able to identify the ones that we can project, that have a passion for playing the game of football, that ultimately have a passion for Bobcat football. So that's the biggest piece there. I think I understand recruiting a relatively rural state to an FCS program and identifying the guys that can make that transition or hungry to make that transition. And on the other side of it, recruiting, the recruiting model that we had at Wyoming, really follows a similar footprint. The West Coast, so California, Oregon, up to Washington was a pretty significant part of what we did. So while those weren't my areas, I got a good sense for what the football in those areas was all about. I had a chance to, at different times, be in several schools up and down the coast. So I think I have a good sense for it, but certainly I'm going to lean on the guys that are out, combing those areas throughout the spring and the fall. Familiar certainly with recruiting Texas, and I know Texas has had different impacts through different times as far as numbers here. So that's going to be something that I want to build off my experience there. And you look at the direct daily flights into Bozeman. I think you have a footprint where people can get here pretty quickly. So whether that's unofficial visits, official visits, you can get recruits here. Whether it's a guy looking at, okay, I'm 1,000, 2,000 miles from home. Can I get home? Well, you can get home. Parents can come up for games. So I think, the accessibility through that airport, opens up the world to a lot of different places. And I'm anxious to get out there wearing the blue and gold and selling our program.
Speaking of recruiting, you had mentioned doing one-on-one meetings with your players. Where is that in perspective? Talking to these guys will be here in the fall that aren't necessarily on campus yet.
Our incoming recruits you speak to? Yeah, we had a Zoom with the entire 2021 class on Saturday. So I'm remiss to not talk about them as well. It was a Zoom where I introduced myself, introduced our plans, the things that they might be apprehensive about right now, and I think really put their minds at ease. I think they were really excited, opened up for questions, and that's something that I feel is very important. They haven't been most of them haven't been able to. Well, I should take that back. They've all been here in some fashion. I was kind of shocked because I think half of our recruiting class at Wyoming hadn't been to Laramie, but they all been here. But getting them more and more comfortable as this semester finishes out, and then ultimately getting them up here when they can. But a hungry group as well. A group that's been resilient, I guess, in particular for the last couple weeks. A talented group. So we're going to continue on that lines of doing that every couple weeks and just open forum questions, but continuing to keep them informed about where we're at.
Anything else? All right, Coach, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to getting to know all of you.